we are
Mhm.
recording and
We're
I'll
recording.
start. Okay, great.
Yeah.
So basically, how I want to do this voice chat, I want it to be in four parts. One, I'll explain the idea. Uh, Second, I'll talk about formation of the group and how I see it, people involved with the project. Then I'll talk about uh, cost of the project, and the last portion will be how I see gathering the required funds for this project. The idea started from me searching for an application that will allow merchant to accept payments in whatever currency of the merchant's choosing. Unfortunately, the applications that I found on the market are either immediately tying it with the fiat or are limited to the well known cryptocurrencies with the market caps 500 million or more. And the requirements that they present is a daily trading volume to be listed with them are somewhere around $100,000 a day. That immediately cuts off all the new crypto projects out of the loop, essentially leaving it up to a merchant how to organize or design their own um, automation for the acceptance of the payments in the cryptocurrency. In my opinion, when I looked at the issue, it is not that difficult to resolve it as long as the fiat is not involved. And being a merchant myself, I kind of see the automation being the main issue. For example, I'm willing to sell the goods and pay the costs in fiat as long as I am getting the cryptocurrencies in form of payment for the merchandise of my choosing. And it's not necessarily the big players on the market like Bitcoin, Ethereum, Solana, or something like that, or even Caspa. But I'm interested in the smaller projects. And I'm sure I'm not the only one. I spoke with several guys who have like online stores, and quite a few of them expressed the interest in such automation. So the idea is to create an application on iOS and Android platforms that will allow merchant to issue kind of a PayPal buy button that they can add to whatever page of the merchandise they are willing to sell for the cryptocurrency. And the customer will just simply click on that button that will open up the information, send an email to the customer with the address to which the payment needs to be uh, made, some kind of invoice calculation of how much of that coin or token needs to be transferred. And that's essentially it. On the customer side, clicking on the that message, it opens up the interface to allow customer to connect to his wallet, copy the information from the invoice into the transaction, and send the payment and post the transaction ID to the order of the merchant. That lets the merchant know that the transaction has been issued. By this transaction ID, he can confirm to which order it belongs. And essentially, the interaction between these two is complete. Merchant received the payment, his regular software can process whatever order he has to fulfill. And on the customer side, he has a confirmation that he received an invoice in cryptocurrency. He or she paid the invoice. There is a proof in the form of transaction ID from that blockchain or from the whatever the tokens chain is. And everyone is satisfied in the matter of having sufficient proof that the payment was done, order was paid, etc. I initially thought of doing this application on the Fennec blockchain, and issue with that became that Fennec already had its pre-sale. The funds are available for um, gathering required funds are very limited, and it would significantly affect the economics of the Fennec. So I started thinking of maybe starting it or having a necessity to start the separate blockchain or issuing a token that would be used in the form of payments. The idea is that each merchant will be a paying customer to that application, and every customer of that merchant will have this application available for them absolutely free. Therefore, revenues of the application project are mainly the transaction fees and the accounts that are on the subscription basis sold to the merchants. Those revenues should be significant enough to support necessity of running the blockchain and doing further developments within the application. Application obviously has a lot of uh, opportunities to grow because internal parts of the application can be expanded quite a bit. We can offer the calculators to ease for the merchant transition from his or her fiat costs into the cryptocurrency calculations of their choosing, and building up and customizing the invoices and such. Therefore, idea by itself is to create an application which will be a single use case for the token or coin that is created for the purpose of monetizing the relationship between the merchants who are using the application and the blockchain, the development group. Now, as far as the project itself, it's quite significant. I myself obviously am not sufficient uh, force to run that type of project by myself. So my idea was to gather around the project group of friends that essentially has formed throughout the last year of Fennec activities and interaction with other projects. A lot of you are in the same projects. As far as I know, everyone likes Skull, LVM, and it was natural to offer you guys participation as well, if there is such interest. Now, as far as the initial group of people, The way I thought of it, I thought of it like an as of onion. There is a core that will be initially involved with the development of the idea and discussing the idea, finalizing the algorithm of what we want to happen within the application. And then each of us, depending on our expertise, will try to get involved professionals that we need in order to develop the project, such as application developer, security developer, blockchain developer, and marketing personnel, etc. Obviously, the project like this requires costs. As far as I investigated the cost of creation of such application, depending on the depth and complexity, it may be anywhere from 25 to $50,000 just for the application development. Uh, those funds need to be raised. How I was looking at it. First of all, I already spoke with several people on the investor side, and a few of them expressed the interest in coming into the project. But we also will have other options such as pre-sale, such as crowdfunding, etc. Um, that's pretty much the idea itself. I know that would such application be developed, there will be interest not only on the merchant sides, but also on many of the small blockchain and token projects who would love to offer that kind of utility to their users. And integration with our platform on native level would open up streams of revenues and streams of marketing uh, for such projects. And that would very well create the opportunity for the next step of the development, which I see as the creation of our own exchange. Because once several coins tokens are listed within the application and interacting with us through our blockchain, etc., it is only natural to create a centralized exchange based on that initial um, relations with the projects and develop it further into a fully functional centralized exchange. So that's basically the idea that I'm putting out there. I already have quite a bit of calculations done, and obviously it will be discussed with the group of people who will express the desire to join. I have quite a good idea on the how to finance the project. And lastly, this year I'm getting my CPA certification, and specialization will be nonprofit organization accounting. Uh, I will have the both sides accounting and audit certification. And the reason I'm doing that because I would ideally see this project coming under the umbrella of some kind of non-profit organization, what we've done with the Fennec. So the non-profit actually manages the project and ensures that um, it's governed fairly. So this is what it is. I am open to the question, guys.
Hey, so can you guys hear me okay?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Yeah, I think it's a great concept. I think, like you were saying, a lot of different projects would be interested in not only getting involved, but helping kind of perpetuate the adoption and widespread influence of something like this. So I really like that part of it. The other thing I was thinking about, because I had similar ideas for Fennec that I was drafting with a few people, probably should have brought it up, a couple weeks back, but thinking about having a centralized sort of exchange, it could solve a lot of issues in terms of revenue and things like that. But regardless of whether or not Fennec blockchain was an authority that did that, which wouldn't be our time. We're not really ready either. But with that said, with this project you're speaking about, perhaps like the native token of the project would be basically like expense on ZegX or BNB on Binance. So I would understand that, even if it wasn't Fennec. But additionally, I was thinking it would be great if the exchange had the same liquidity pooling options, because then you would solve potentially a lot of these liquidity issues with the smaller projects that have really wide spreads on their order books. I think just ultimately that would help a lot with having them accepted as payment, because then the price would be a little bit more stable. It would be more reasonable to assume an inherent value of a coin at a given time. Um, I guess the other thing I was thinking is that there's quite a bit of potential permit requirements and things like that if it were to be based in the US, specifically like an exchange. And the payment processing part is likely going to be the biggest sort of feature that this project had. So I'm all for that. I think it would have a lot less resistance in its development from like a legal permit side of things. But additionally, I would say I think it would be a great concept if it starts out with a fairly low fence or ease of access for new startup projects. I think it would be great. And additionally, I think, like I was speaking with a few people about, ZegX has a significantly higher listing fee than they did last year. So there's a niche or a role or a spot missing in the market for projects that want to get listed somewhere for, let's say, under $500 or $600. I think it would be very reasonable to assume that if there's sufficient funding and sweat equity and work put into this, I think you could really have a bone to pick with these smaller exchanges and stand out quite a bit just by means of not having a high listing fee, having this liquidity pooling function, having a payment processor kind of integrated as well. So I really like what I'm hearing. I don't know specifically where Fennec could fit in, but just to be related by means of association, it ultimately sounds like a great thing that I'd be really excited about. So I really appreciate the idea. I wish you luck on it, and if I can help anywhere, I would love to. It's just I want to continue to drive Fennec, and I'm kind of building out my personal life as well. So there's a handful of things taking my time, but if there's anything I could offer, I'm just a message away. So I would love to help out in that sense. And then in terms of further involvement, I just kind of have to assess my schedule and my situation. But it sounds very exciting, very ambitious, very cool. I just like it a lot. So I appreciate your time and everything else that you're doing here. So this is pretty sweet. I like it.
Well, let me address a few things. One, if it comes to, first of all, exchange is just a second, fairly natural step of development, the application, but I don't think that it's like near future step. But as far as the exchange itself, I also was obviously thinking about it. There are a few things that I'd like to avoid if such step is taken. One of them is I am absolutely against the automated market makers. I think that these things they perpetuate issues with the rates at which the currency is traded. They are designed to profit the exchange ownership and no one else. As far as the liquidity pools, absolutely. As long as we manage to avoid anything that has to do with the fiat. And the third issue, origin of the exchange. And on the initial stage, I don't think that it's necessary to move the project outside of the US. But once the project is up and running, I definitely would consider change of the country of origin for the project because US right now is not the friendliest towards the crypto projects. And there are other opportunities to move it in much more crypto friendlier um, regulatory market, the project without necessity for it being US project by itself.
I think all of that sounds great. The other thing I was going to mention is we have very active community member admin who I believe is from like the northeastern or northwestern European region. I think a handful of those countries are just a little more friendly toward things like startups and ambitious projects and things like that. So I could potentially just help kind of kickstart that conversation, or you might know who I'm talking about. You could obviously just definitely approach them on your own too. But I think we have a handful of people that would be looking to potentially support this or get behind it. The person that I had in mind, I introduced similar concept, not with the payment processor, but in terms of maybe an exchange. But obviously, if this is even remotely associated with Fennec, we would take a step back from trying to even work toward creating that, and perhaps just get behind what you're starting to do and support it, which would be awesome to be honest. So I'd love to touch base in a while, go into that a little bit, but all in all, it sounds really exciting.
Well, this project initiated from, if you remember, we had a discussion quite a few, several months ago about creating a stable coin that would represent a $1 value in Fennec between you and Cow. I mean, we discussed that several times and even returned to the discussion a few months ago. But that was where the regulatory issues were interfering quite a bit with ability to properly run because legalities would take so much funding that it wouldn't be feasible to start it with the budget that we are capable of raising. So this is a transformation of that idea. And as far as I was thinking initially, we can again. Idea was to initially use Fennec as a currency of payments for the transactions and the accounts, and use it as a native currency for the project. Unfortunately, Fennec has its own complications, and it's just not reasonable to dump it on the project. However, I was thinking that we can form some kind of initial pool of people in which we can integrate projects as well. We can create some kind of an exchange of Fennec and whatever that the working name right now is a merchant coin, uh, and uh, exchange the bags with Fennec. Fennec for merchant coin and Fennec for Skull, Fennec for whoever else wants to come on board. And that these would be the natively integrated coins right from the beginning in the system. And well, when I'm saying coins, tokens as well, because essentially this project will not be sensitive to the issue whether it's a coin or a token.
I think it's good to have that kind of inclusive mentality about it as well. There's plenty of talent in the space in all kinds of different areas, and something that might be worth consideration as well. I would love to get behind this and see where I can fit in. I don't exactly know at the moment, but at the same time, I'm willing to help kind of connect people and connect the dots and chip in where I can. But any potential supporting projects, let's say even just theoretically or hypothetically, you had somebody else step in and you wanted to kind of show support or have them integrated. I know that Zegex, for example, like not to bring any particular name into it, but I'm sure there's other exchanges that do this now with their listing fee. I think they have a slightly lower price than they're normally expecting, because they also compensate it with requiring a small amount of liquidity to be provided for each trading pair that they create on the platform. Now, there could be something to be said for potentially having even a $25 to $50 liquidity pool requirement for like a small variety of different projects between the coin in question that's applying for some sort of integration on a payment processor or an exchange site. I know I've been focusing on the exchange because I think I know a little more about it, um, and I just wanted to offer some kind of perspective on that. But for example, there could be like a small listing fee and a small liquidity requirement for just a handful of coins with very small valuation. And just in general, if the platform begins to succeed, these other coins would end up having quite a bit more liquidity than they would have had without that kind of integration. So I'm just kind of spitballing ideas. I thought it could be something worth mentioning, but besides that, I don't have much to say at the moment. But this is really cool to look into.
Well, as far as the exchanges go, usually when they require the liquidity pool to be provided initially, they lock it and the liquidity pool is never released back to the project. This is essentially exchanges pool of liquidity on both sides. And this is not something I think is fair to the project because it's essentially an additional listing fee, the way they treat it. As far as I remember, right now the Zegex listing fee is around 25 or $2,900, and on top of it, they require $400 in the liquidity pool that will be locked and essentially will belong to Zegex, and that what funds their automated market making bots, which essentially funds the dumping of the price of the coin. I think we can completely avoid that. We can have much lower entry level with the listing fee, much lower listing fees, and we can avoid using that requirement of the liquidity pool that is locked in the name of the exchange. Instead, let the project operate it themselves. I think that one of the inherent failures of the exchanges is that they want for any project that appears on their site to have an active trading or at least illusion of the active trading, and they created these automated market making bots that create such illusion. But in reality, in most of the cases, unless there is like a project that already grew sufficiently and has a good liquidity pools established size wise, that these small trades do not affect the price. But in general, these AMMs, they actually detrimentally affect the projects that do not have such luxury. And if we're talking about uh, new projects that do not have such funding available, to them it's just another obstacle to overcome. And I think we can solve that, providing them not only with the utility tool, such as application itself, the main purpose of it, but also with exchange that will not generate an artificial market for them. It would be a genuine expression of the interest to the project.
I think I think it is. Your comments are very in line with the whole concept of being inclusive and having a low barrier to entry, which kind of enables a brand to build and a group to build. And there might not even be need to scale that up in terms of fees and pricing once there's set rates. I mean, a good product is a good product, and that's all there is to it. So, it tends to get more traffic and volume over time. I think a lot of what you're saying is congruent, and that probably makes more of a difference than I'm assuming at the moment. But even with my perception, I can see how it would benefit the entire thing if it's congruent and consistent in its approach to trying to basically provide a service to the user. So I think a lot of it makes sense. With that said, I'm heading back somewhere else in my area, like heading home at the moment. I don't know how much longer I'll be able to stay on the call personally, but it sounds like the start of a great concept. Really hoping the rest of you guys would enjoy taking part in the conversation as well. But I wish you the best for now. I'll be around in a few, and I'll try to get this recording uploaded so that the rest of the community can tune in over time and get their feedback as well.
All right, thank you, Dango.
Have a good one, guys.
Do you guys, anyone else has any questions to me? And it feels like silence.
You're good on my end.
Otherwise,
I just have to catch up on what I missed.
I think Richard is running the recording, so the recording we will make it available as soon as the voice chat is over. Uh, I know
That
that
is
you and
correct.
I, pardon me?
So just correct.
All right, excellent. So I know that Martin has expressed the interest of being here. Unfortunately, he is in Norway and therefore he cannot participate due to the time constraints. But I think it would be very beneficial for him. Uh, I believe that Kao and I had already a small discussion about the project. Uh, I hope that we can all find some kind of common ground to actually be involved. And uh, it's right now it's pretty liquid, and we can all find some kind of common ground and see how we can integrate everyone's who has the desire to be part of it. The idea itself started from me literally searching for the app to use um, to integrate Fennec payments. Right now, we literally do it manually. Every time someone wants to do the Fennec payment for our merchandise, and when I spoke with the merchants who have like online stores, uh, and looking to accept the payments in cryptocurrency, everyone has the same issue. We don't really need a specific connection to the fiat on and off ramp because I never intend to, like, for example, sell Fennec for fiat. I never intend to sell any of the cryptocurrencies that we're willing to accept for fiat. That is not the idea. Idea is to be able to actually accept the payment without running it all by hand. And I think this problem can be very easily resolved without all the regulatory requirements of the fiat on and off ramp integration. And that also provides for much easier security concerns. Hi, Lloyd. You're just joining us, huh? So, at any rate, what I wanted to say is that this concept right now is literally what it is. It's a concept. I'm working on designing the algorithms of what I think needs to be happening within the application, as well as the budget for the project. And if any one of you will be interested in joining the project, let me know in what capacity we can discuss. Um, we can discuss what role you see for yourself within the project. Right now, it's such an early stage that I'm pretty sure that everyone who wants to be involved can find themselves the task within the project to handle. I want to think of it as a community project. I never wanted to be an owner of the project. I want to see it as something that is developed by the people for the people. So that's basically my vision. This is what I think is going to be in demand on the market. I know that several project leaders that I've spoken with, different projects, they all said that it would be a nice addition to utility of the project. So maybe that's the niche. Well, with that said, if there are no other questions, pretty much the presentation that I wanted to do is done.
I think you might want to continue considering name ideas for the coin. I was looking it up, and merchant token is like a token that already exists. It's like 3 million market cap. It's not huge, but it's been around since 2022. I don't know, maybe something a little bit more unique and catchy. I like the idea of
Uh,
it, but
to be honest, I needed to name it somehow. I didn't even think of the name yet because uh, it's not essential, and I'm not the very creative person. Even with the books, my job is to organize. It's the creative people that create the content. And I was hoping that someone who is much more marketing inclined will come up with a good name. I just named it for myself as Merchant Coin just because that's the purpose. Like I said, it's a working name, nothing else. I just don't have any idea how to name it yet. But I agree, Merchant Coin just doesn't sound too good. Maybe we can create some kind of contest where people would contribute with ideas how to name the coin.
Yeah, that's great. That's a good one. So how you guys doing? Sorry, I'm just jumping in late.
Hey, Lloyd,
How you
doing
doing?
well, doing well, thank you.
That's good to know. I joined your project lately. I've not been that active to engage your chats and also ask about the things you've been on in the project. But I would like to make it very quick and brief. I would like to work with your project. I don't know if you would give me a chance to, just like you said earlier, if anyone has something that they want to say to give to the project or can contribute, that you give a role. I would like you guys to look into my proposal, though I'm not making it official because it is on VC. But please, can you maybe check it out?
Proposal of what?
I would like to work with your project, like being lead Sheila. I see that you don't have active shield armies for the
Okay,
project.
we're way off with that. We're not even at that stage. This is not something that we will be looking into in the near future. Sorry, appreciate it.
Yeah. That's cool. That's okay. But I think I could do some other things for the project, at least to add some effective growth on organic growth as well.
All right, all right, thank you.
You're welcome.
Richard, you and I spoke, and I still don't have a good idea whether it should be a tokenized or coin project with its own blockchain. My conversation with Tyler, who is the developer for the Fennec blockchain, led me to believe that the security concerns might be even more complicated when it comes to blockchain. Tokenization, according to him, might be a better solution because it inherits the security from the blockchain that token is issued on.
Yeah, and tokens, a lot of the things that you need to build the application already exist on tokens. You know, like the different API calls and different integrations that would be needed for this already exist on Ethereum or Polygon or whatever chain is chosen. You know, you do your own chain, you have to build all this stuff from scratch. So there's pros and cons both directions.
And that's exactly what Tyler was referring to, saying that once it comes down to even the exchange, it is much better to have a tokenized version of the payment coin, or I mean, payment symbol, whatever, than running it on our own blockchain. Now that creates a new layer of security concerns that not necessarily are there for the pure Bitcoin type coin.
And there's various grants that a lot of these offer, like Ethereum offers and Polygon offers and things like that. There might be ways to raise funds with that method as well.
So I think that that discussion is to be continued. I still think that I need your expertise on that aspect of it before that decision is made. Because once it's made, it will be very hard to turn back and redo everything all over again.
Yeah, it would be quite costly because you could be on both, but at the end of the day, what would be the purpose of it? You know, that's what we have to think about. What would be the route that's best suited for what you want to do? And yeah, I think token. I'm leaning more towards tokenization than a chain personally.
Yeah, I kind of, after the conversation with Tyler, I also was thinking that it might be the token that we need more than we need a coin because I just don't think that uh, it's feasible to raise sufficient funds to create both layer one blockchain that has the EVM built on top of it, plus the app, plus the exchange. It's just I'm not
And
a
both can come
descent
if you
from
need
the
to.
Gates family.
Down the road, the other one could come either way. So it's like it doesn't mean it'll never happen. It just means it doesn't make practical sense at launch.
Yeah, yeah. So right now, that's probably the main concern of mine because the application itself, I found the good people who can actually do it on both platforms, iOS and Android. They have quite a developed system of designing the app, and they can tie it in whether it's a blockchain or the token, but all these APIs creation on the blockchain, it just that would fall on us, and I just don't want to handle that. I think it will be way too much for a starting project. So if it's a token, we need to think of what blockchain should it be. On one hand, I kind of like the idea of Ethereum and Polygon as a layer two on it, but on the other, I kind of like what Casper is building. Unfortunately, their EVM is not even ready yet. So
At the
I don't
moment,
know.
I mean, like, there's always things down the road. That's the thing. Like, they're not stuck on one forever. But I think at the moment, Polygon would make the most sense.
Yeah,
It's
that might.
very inexpensive and it's quick. You know, it's not doesn't have extremely heavy traffic like Ethereum does. Ethereum doesn't work as a payment system. It's just too slow.
We will need to talk about funding required because I don't even have any idea of that share of the funding that would be required for the project. Um, Not even initial capital that is required for that. Like with app, I know that. With marketing, I know that. With all the legalities, I know that. But that share of the budget, I have no idea what it would require financially. And before the finalized proposal can be formed, I need to get a better idea on that portion of the budget. You
Yeah,
think
there
you
would be some
you
just
could assist me with that?
absolutely.
All right, all right. Awesome. Awesome. I think we will have a few people initially that will be involved with the project. I know that Martin will be there. I know that I have a couple of investors that are willing to back us up with some funding. Uh, and we always can consider some kind of a pre-sale to raise whatever funds we want, or maybe even use some kind of platform and do the ICO there, or ILO, whatever. It's ICO basically.
Yeah, it's just a matter of getting the right idea, getting it all down, and then finding people is that's not the hard part. It's getting everything down and getting a idea that people will want to buy.
As far as the time frame, I'd like to form the group of people that are I don't want to say incorporators because it's like a jargon from absolutely different field, but initiative group formed by like end of March, and at the same time have a proposal on the level of some kind of business plan ready at the same time, so that come April, the project can actually start working. I think that at the very least, at least on the app side, we're looking at about 5 to 6 months development time, plus the testing time. It's another month or two. So the project should be ready for launch towards the end of the year. That was like
Sounds good.
most reasonable expectations.
Mm-hmm. So it goes without saying then you want to launch with the app already live.
Well, yeah, I mean, despite the fact that token needs to be prepared already so that developers can work and test, uh, I don't want to like make any public offerings until we are ready to launch. Maybe do a pre-sale sometime before in order to provide for funding. It depends on which route we're choosing because there is also a crowdfunding option, there is also a private investment option. So it depends. Like I said, it's all subject for discussion. I'm not like setting anything in stone for that. I think once the group is formed, it should be a collective decision, not an authoritarian one. And once that decision is made, we will just go according to plan as long as we can provide the necessary funding and organize necessary funding. That's all that will be required on that portion of it. But as far as launching it as a project, obviously, I would like to, when it goes public, to come with an application that is already live. So there is already utility there, and Fennec Production would be the very first customer right away.
Or at the very least in beta, but people will be able to use it nonetheless.
Yeah, I mean, we kind of have the inherited test monkey in the form of FPI that I'm willing to test it because you know that we slowly started like expanding the projects we will be preparing merchandise for or doing merchandise for, and my idea is to start accepting the whatever coins or tokens of those projects in the payment for merchandise for them. So, yeah, I mean, we are ready to be the test monkey, test rabbit, test rat, whatever, whatever you prefer to test on.
Yeah, that'll work out perfectly. So,
Meaning that FPI is willing to assume whatever risks that might be involved with the testing period.
mm. And then from there, it's just a matter of making it easy and simple for projects to integrate. That's key. And yeah, we'll get there.
So I think FPI also would be a good partner tester because we will be adding more and more projects. Like right now, we are trying to expand the P3D 3D pass line of products. We will be also adding a few others, and that would provide a variety of platforms to test it on, tokens, coins, etc., and integration with our e-commerce software. So hopefully, a few of guys that I've spoken with who have the internet stores, some of them will come on board for beta testing, and we will have sufficient information base before the actual launch for public. So I guess with all this said, I'm pretty much ready to wrap it up unless you guys want to ask me anything.
No, good. There's a lot more to discuss, and I'm going to take some to think about it all. But yeah, it could definitely work.
My goal is actually to start doing the voice chats more often. I want to become an accessible person to ask questions. I'm ready to answer on questions on anything. Fennec side of it, FPI side of it, the new project, my personal life, whatever. Uh, I just wanted to be comfortable for people so that they know uh, who stands behind the project, who is the person, where he lives, what he does, and how to find him in case we want to kill him.
Yeah, it's important.
I'm open to it, man. I mean, I wasn't quite ready for this setup. I didn't have my camera connected, but for the future, I will do it off of my PC with my camera on so that people can actually see me as well.
Mhm. And
But just in case there
Telegram
is
will record
plenty of.
that as well.
Yeah, I was kind of
They can
thinking
record.
maybe moving it to the Twitter rather than doing it in Telegram because it kind of
Yeah,
has a
that
little
works
better
too.
platform.
Yeah, there's ways to actually do them at the same time. I've never
No,
set
that
Mitch has set up before.
I heard about it. I'm not really technically inclined person. I mean, I I don't know if was it you that I told about my first programming experience? The first
Yes, it
student
was.
program that I had to do, I did on the punch cards, and I didn't like it too much. So computers are not my sphere. So yeah, I mean, I cannot write the code. I have general idea of how the programming works, what are the logics and algorithms behind it, but I never was too involved with the code writing anywhere. Bookkeeping, accounting, managerial side of it, yes, but no, I mean, I do possess the certification as a Microsoft certified system engineer back from the 90s. I worked for a company called Rare Business Products. It's one at that time it was one of Fortune 500 companies as a network engineer, basically designing and rolling out computer networks. But that was the extent of my involvement with any kind of programming. Well, I guess this pretty much wraps it up, and I appreciate you recording it. I'd like to actually post it on the Fennec Telegram, the recorded file, if it's possible.
Yeah, I'll share
Just
it
let me
over as soon
know.
as we're done. Yeah.
All right. Well, Lily, Richard, thank you so much for participating, coming over, and at least making me feel like I'm not an idiot speaking to myself. And
Nice
I
meeting
hope
you.
to, yeah, I hope that we can get some of this project off the ground because I definitely feel the need for it, and I know that there will be people who are very interested in becoming customers for it. Thank you guys again. I appreciate you coming over. And I think let's wrap it up so we can all go about our things to do.
All right, I guess I'll go ahead and close it up then.